You flip a switch. The lights come on. You plug in your phone. It charges. You press a button on your remote. The TV turns on. Electricity is everywhere around you, powering your entire world, flowing through every wire, coursing through every circuit, animating every device you own, but you've never seen it. Not once. Not even a glimpse. Why is the most fundamental force of modern civilization completely invisible to you? Why can you see water flowing through pipes, air moving through the sky, cars driving down streets, but you cannot see the electricity flowing through the wires in your walls right now? What if I told you that this invisibility isn't a limitation of your eyes, but reveals something profound about the nature of reality itself? What if electricity's invisibility is the key to understanding not just how the universe works, but what the universe actually is? And what if Tesla discovered something about this invisible force that would completely rewrite everything you think you know about energy, matter, and existence itself? Let me show you why you can't see electricity, and I promise you, the answer will change how you see everything. First, let's understand what you actually see when you see anything. Right now, you think you're seeing these words, but you're not seeing the words themselves. You're seeing light. Specifically, you're seeing electromagnetic radiation with wavelengths between roughly 400 and 700 nanometers. This radiation bounces off objects and enters your eyes, where it triggers chemical reactions in your retina, which send electrical signals to your brain, which constructs the experience you call vision. Everything you've ever seen is light. The red of a rose, the blue of the sky, the face of someone you love, all of it is electromagnetic radiation of different wavelengths hitting your eyes. You don't see objects. You see the light they emit or reflect. And here's the crucial point. Visible light is just a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, a vanishingly small fraction of all the electromagnetic radiation that exists. Beyond visible light lies infrared radiation, which you feel as heat. Beyond that, microwaves, which cook your food. Beyond that, radio waves, which carry information through the air. On the other side of visible light lies ultraviolet radiation, which burns your skin. Beyond that, X-rays, which penetrate your body. Beyond that, gamma rays, which can kill you. All of these are the same phenomenon, electromagnetic radiation. The only difference is wavelength. The only reason you can see some electromagnetic radiation, and not others, is that your eyes evolved to detect the particular wavelengths that penetrate Earth's atmosphere and reflect off objects in your environment. Your vision is tuned to a narrow band of radiation that was useful for survival. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Electricity is not electromagnetic radiation. Electricity is the movement of charged particles, usually electrons, through a conductor. When electrons flow through a wire, they don't emit light in the visible spectrum. The movement of charge itself produces no photons that your eyes can detect. That's why electricity is invisible. But wait, that's not the whole story. Because electricity does produce electromagnetic radiation under certain circumstances. When charges accelerate, they emit electromagnetic radiation. This is how radio antennas work. The accelerating charges in the antenna produce radio waves that propagate through space. When you see a spark, you're seeing the electromagnetic radiation produced by electrons jumping through air, accelerating rapidly as they bridge the gap between conductors. So why don't you see the electricity in the wires in your house? Because the electrons in household electrical current are not accelerating significantly. They're moving, but at constant velocity through the conductor. And moving charges that aren't accelerating don't produce electromagnetic radiation in the visible spectrum. The current flows silently and invisibly through your walls. But Tesla discovered something remarkable about this invisible force. He realized that you don't need wires to transmit electricity. If you could make charges accelerate in the right way, you could produce electromagnetic radiation that carries energy through space. You could transmit power wirelessly. This was the foundation of his wireless power transmission experiments. Tesla built enormous coils that could accelerate electrons to tremendous speeds, producing electromagnetic radiation powerful enough to light bulbs held in nearby hands, to power motors across the room, to send electrical signals through the Earth itself. He demonstrated that electricity didn't need to be confined to wires. It could fill space, invisible but present, ready to power devices anywhere within its reach. This wireless transmission works because accelerating charges produce electromagnetic fields that propagate through space at the speed of light. These fields carry energy, when they encounter a conductor, they induce electrical currents in that conductor. The invisible electromagnetic radiation becomes visible electrical power. Tesla had discovered how to make electricity omnipresent, filling space like an invisible ocean of energy. But here's what Tesla understood that others missed. Electricity isn't just about moving electrons through wires. Electricity is a manifestation of something much more fundamental, the electromagnetic field. This field permeates all of space. Every point in the universe has an electromagnetic field value. Particles with electric charge interact with this field. When the field changes in one location, that change propagates outward at the speed of light, affecting charged particles everywhere. Think about this carefully. The electromagnetic field is invisible, but it's more real than most of the things you can see. It fills every cubic centimeter of space. It mediates every interaction between charged particles. It's what makes chemistry possible, what holds atoms together, what allows light to travel from distant stars to your eyes. The visible world exists only because of this invisible field. Tesla realized that this invisible field was not empty space waiting to be filled with electricity. The field is electricity in its most fundamental form. What you call electrical current in a wire is just a local disturbance in this universal field. The wire guides the disturbance, channels it, directs it, but the fundamental phenomenon is the field itself. This leads to a profound realization. You exist in an ocean of invisible electrical activity. Right now, electromagnetic fields are passing through your body from countless sources. Radio waves from distant transmitters, microwaves from satellites, infrared radiation from warm objects around you, visible light from every illuminated surface. You are immersed in electromagnetic radiation, most of it invisible, all of it electrical in nature. Your own body is electrical. Your neurons communicate through electrical signals. Your heart beats because of electrical impulses. Your muscles contract when triggered by electrical activity. The thoughts you're having right now are patterns of electrical activity in your brain. You are not just surrounded by invisible electricity. You are invisible electricity, temporarily organized into a pattern that experiences itself as conscious. But let's go deeper into what this invisibility means. Why did evolution give you eyes that can only see a tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum? Why are you blind to most of electrical reality? The answer reveals something profound about the nature of perception and reality. Your eyes see only the electromagnetic radiation that's useful for navigation and object recognition in your environment. The wavelengths of visible light are small enough to reflect off objects and create detailed images, but not so small that they're absorbed by the atmosphere. They're energetic enough to trigger chemical reactions in your retina, but not so energetic that they damage your eyes. Your vision is optimized for survival, not for perceiving reality in its totality. This means that your perception of reality is not reality itself. It's a highly filtered, highly processed, highly simplified representation of what's actually happening around you. The invisible electricity that powers your world is more fundamental than the visible objects you see. The electromagnetic fields that permeate space are more real than the colors and shapes that occupy your visual experience. Tesla understood this. He spent his life working with invisible forces, developing an intuition for electromagnetic phenomena that couldn't be seen directly. He learned to think in terms of fields and frequencies, oscillations and resonances, invisible patterns of energy that shaped the visible world. He developed what he called electrical vision, the ability to see electricity not with his eyes but with his mind. This electrical vision allowed Tesla to make discoveries that seemed impossible to others. He could visualize complex electromagnetic interactions in his head. He could predict how invisible fields would behave, how they would interact, how they could be manipulated and controlled. His wireless power transmission, his alternating current motors, his radio-controlled devices, all of these came from his ability to see the invisible electrical reality underlying the visible world. But Tesla's greatest insight was about the nature of energy itself. He realized that all energy is electrical at its foundation. Heat is the motion of electrically charged particles. Light is electromagnetic radiation. Chemical energy is the rearrangement of electrically charged atoms. Nuclear energy comes from changes in the electrical structure of atomic nuclei. Even gravitational energy might be electrical in nature, though the connection is more subtle. This means that when you ask why electricity is invisible, you're really asking why energy itself is invisible. And the answer is profound. Energy is not a thing that can be seen. Energy is the capacity for change, the potential for transformation, the ability to make things happen. It's a property of systems, not a substance that exists independently. When you see a moving car, you don't see its kinetic energy, you see the car. The energy is in the motion, in the relationship between the car and its environment. When you see a flame, you don't see the chemical energy being released. You see the light and heat produced by the energy transformation. Energy itself remains invisible because it's not an object but a process, not a thing but a happening. Tesla's wireless electricity transmission was really about making energy transformations happen at a distance. The invisible electromagnetic fields carried the capacity for change from one location to another. The energy wasn't traveling through space as a substance. The field patterns were propagating through space, carrying the potential to induce changes in distant conductors. This invisible transmission of energy potential happens everywhere in nature. The sun's electromagnetic radiation carries energy across 93 million miles of empty space to power photosynthesis on Earth. Radio waves carry information and energy from transmitters to receivers. Your Wi-Fi network transmits data through invisible electromagnetic fields. The entire modern world runs on invisible energy transmission. But here's where Tesla's vision becomes truly revolutionary. He imagined a world where this invisible energy transmission was not limited to specific frequencies or specific devices. He envisioned the entire planet as a resonating electrical system, with the Earth itself acting as a conductor for global energy distribution. His Wardenclyffe Tower was designed to tap into this planetary electrical system and make electrical energy available anywhere on Earth, drawn from the atmosphere itself. Tesla believed that the space between Earth and the ionosphere was filled with electrical energy, like a vast capacitor storing charge that could be accessed and used. He conducted experiments suggesting that electrical energy could be transmitted through the Earth itself, using the planet as a conductor. He imagined a future where electricity was not generated and distributed through wires, but extracted directly from the environment, invisible and omnipresent. While Tesla's global wireless power system was never completed, his insight about the electrical nature of the environment has proven prophetic. We now know that the Earth is indeed surrounded by electrical fields. The atmosphere contains electrical charges. Lightning represents the discharge of electrical energy that builds up in the sky. The aurora borealis is visible evidence of electrical interactions between solar radiation and Earth's magnetic field. Modern technology has made some of Tesla's visions reality. We transmit power wirelessly to charge electric vehicles and power devices. We harvest energy from electromagnetic radiation using solar cells and radio wave collectors. We manipulate invisible electromagnetic fields to create magnetic resonance imaging, to heat food in microwave ovens, to transmit information through optical fibers. But we still haven't achieved Tesla's ultimate vision of omnipresent wireless electrical energy. We still rely on visible power lines and buried cables to distribute electricity. We still generate power in centralized plants and transmit it through a grid of conductors. The invisible electrical ocean that Tesla imagined remains mostly untapped. Part of the reason is practical. Wireless power transmission is less efficient than wired transmission for most applications. The electromagnetic radiation spreads out in all directions, so only a small fraction of the transmitted energy reaches its intended destination. For large-scale power distribution, this inefficiency makes wireless transmission impractical with current technology. But part of the reason is also conceptual. Most people still think of electricity as something that flows through wires, rather than as a field phenomenon that fills all of space. They think of electrical devices as isolated objects, rather than as components in a universal electromagnetic system. They don't have Tesla's electrical vision that sees the invisible connections underlying the visible world. This limited vision prevents us from fully utilizing the electrical nature of our environment. We live in a universe where every atom is held together by electrical forces, where every chemical reaction is an electrical process, where every biological function depends on electrical activity. Yet we treat electricity as a specialized phenomenon that exists only in our technological devices. Tesla saw differently. He saw electricity as the fundamental force of nature, the organizing principle of the universe, the invisible foundation upon which all visible phenomena rest. He saw the cosmos as an electrical system of unimaginable complexity and beauty, with every star, every planet, every living being participating in vast electrical circuits that span space and time. This vision suggests that the invisibility of electricity is not a limitation but a feature. If electricity were visible, it would overwhelm all other visual information. The electromagnetic fields surrounding you right now are so complex, so layered, so constantly changing that making them visible would create visual chaos. Your eyes are tuned to ignore this electrical reality so that you can focus on the information that's immediately relevant to your survival. But sometimes, under special circumstances, electricity does become visible. When electrical discharge occurs through gases, the accelerating charges excite the gas molecules, causing them to emit visible light. This is how neon signs work, how fluorescent lights operate, how lightning illuminates the sky. The electricity itself remains invisible, but its effects on matter can be seen. Tesla's wireless power transmission experiments often produced these visible effects. His laboratory would fill with electrical arcs, glowing discharges, and luminous phenomena as invisible electrical energy interacted with the gases in the air. Visitors described his laboratory as a place where invisible forces became visible, where the hidden electrical nature of reality was revealed through spectacular displays of light and energy. These demonstrations showed that the boundary between visible and invisible is not absolute. Under the right conditions, invisible electricity can manifest as visible light. The electromagnetic spectrum is continuous. What you see and what you don't see are adjacent parts of the same phenomena. The invisibility of electricity is a matter of frequency, not of fundamental difference. This suggests a profound possibility. If you could expand your perception beyond the narrow band of visible light, you could see the electrical reality that surrounds you. You could see the electromagnetic fields that fill space, the wireless energy transmissions that carry information and power, the electrical activity that animates all living things. Some animals have evolved broader electromagnetic perception than humans. Bees can see ultraviolet patterns on flowers that are invisible to human eyes. Snakes can see infrared radiation, allowing them to hunt warm-blooded prey in total darkness. Some birds can see magnetic fields, helping them navigate during migration. These animals live in a richer electromagnetic reality than humans experience. Tesla developed a kind of technological electromagnetic perception. Through his instruments and experiments, he could detect and measure electromagnetic phenomena that were invisible to the naked eye. He could make the invisible visible through the behavior of his devices. His coils, his meters, his oscilloscopes became extensions of his senses, allowing him to perceive the electrical reality underlying the visible world. This expanded perception revealed to Tesla that the universe is fundamentally electrical. Gravity might be an electrical phenomenon. Matter might be organized electrical energy. Consciousness might be an electrical process. The invisibility of electricity doesn't mean it's absent from these phenomena. It means it's so fundamental, so pervasive, that it underlies everything else. In Tesla's vision, making electricity visible would be like making space visible, or time visible, or existence itself visible. These are not things that can be seen because they are the conditions that make seeing possible. Electricity is not invisible because it's hidden, but because it's the medium in which all visibility occurs. This brings us to the deepest implication of electricity's invisibility. You cannot see electricity because you are electricity. Your visual system is an electrical system. Your brain is an electrical organ. Your consciousness is an electrical process. You cannot step outside of electricity to observe it objectively because there is no outside. There is only the electrical field of the universe temporarily organized into patterns complex enough to experience themselves as conscious beings asking why they cannot see their own electrical nature. When Tesla transmitted power wirelessly, he was demonstrating that the separation between transmitter and receiver is an illusion. The electromagnetic field is continuous. The energy that powers your devices is the same energy that powers your thoughts. The electricity flowing through the wires in your walls is the same phenomenon as the electrical activity in your nervous system. This unity of electrical phenomena means that Tesla's vision of wireless power is not just about technology. It's about recognizing the electrical connectivity that already exists between all things. Every electrical device you own is already connected to every other electrical device through the electromagnetic field that fills space. Every living being is already connected to every other living being through the electrical fields generated by their biological activity. The invisibility of these connections doesn't make them less real. It makes them more fundamental. What you see as separate objects existing in empty space are actually patterns of electrical activity in a continuous field. The boundaries between things are not gaps in the electrical field, but changes in the field's configuration. Tesla's wireless power transmission was an attempt to make this underlying electrical unity technologically useful. Instead of creating artificial boundaries with wires and circuits, he wanted to work with the natural electrical connectivity of the universe. He wanted to turn the entire planet into a single electrical device, with energy flowing freely between all points according to need and availability. This vision remains largely unrealized, but it points toward a deeper truth about the nature of reality. The visible world of separate objects and discrete boundaries is a simplified representation of an underlying electrical reality that is continuous, interconnected, and fundamentally unified. The invisibility of electricity is not a limitation of your perception, but a revelation of the deeper nature of existence. So why can't you see electricity? Because electricity is not something you observe from the outside. It's something you participate in from the inside. You don't see electrical reality because you are electrical reality, temporarily organized into a pattern complex enough to ask questions about its own nature. Tesla understood this. His greatest discovery was not a device or a technique, but a way of seeing. He learned to perceive the invisible electrical unity underlying the visible world of separation. He learned to think in terms of field rather than objects, processes rather than things, connections rather than boundaries. And in that perception, the question of why electricity is invisible dissolves, because visibility itself is electrical. Light is electromagnetic radiation. Vision is an electrical process in your nervous system. The very awareness that asks the question is an electrical phenomenon in your brain. Electricity is not invisible because you cannot see it. Electricity is invisible because it is what sees. It is the field of awareness in which all seeing occurs. It is the energy that makes consciousness possible. It is the force that organizes matter into patterns complex enough to question their own nature. In Tesla's vision, the universe is a vast electrical system of unimaginable complexity, with every particle, every atom, every molecule, every cell, every organism, every planet, every star, participating in electrical interactions that span all scales of space and time. You are not separate from this system. You are a temporary pattern in this system, asking questions about the nature of the system itself. That is why electricity is invisible, not because it is absent, but because it is omnipresent. Not because it is hidden, but because it is the medium in which all revelation occurs. Not because you cannot see it, but because it is what makes all seeing possible. And recognizing this changes everything while changing nothing at all. The electrical reality was always there. Tesla just helped us begin to see it.